cool, and she had $50 in her pocket from digging potatoes, so I married her.
That's good enough right there. Like, imagine, like, I'm like, how does one even split an atom?
Oh, he could tell you. And he could tell you the half-life of plutonium. Like, it's...
We're going to get flagged now. We're saying plutonium.
Yeah, Russia's upset.
Yeah.
So...
through my head, I'm like, Kings. I'm like, I used to go there. They had like
the
a toy
department.
store.
Oh, the basement. That was so cool.
Yes.
Well, Jerome had it too, because there was, when I grew up, my third grade teacher.
Bring back
I'll give you Tom King's number.
Yeah.
The Portland Zoo, and you could bomb down that road. That one was like death trap. It was next level. Imagine if you didn't live here and you're just driving down the bridge like, oh my God.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, no, that's normal.
That's a good one. I feel like you're going to be like, I'm in the wrong movie.
I'm in the wrong movie right now. Oh, God. Get me out of here.
Yes.
Like, you're not taking care of yourself. You need to be doing this. Have you leveled up? Who are you influencing today?
Yeah.
Oh, my gosh. This awesome lady that works for us, Granny B, is what we call her. Her name tag actually says Granny B.
Granny B.
And she
shout
does.
out to Granny B.
Oh, yeah, totally. And
okay, so you want to put these on and then bring the mic next to you, and then you'll be able to hear me.
Yeah,
isn't this
very
weird?
Nicely.
Yeah.
Is this what musicians, while they're on stage?
They can I guess they can kind of hear themselves sing. So
Well, you'd almost want to.
I
guess.
Were
an artist in a certain way.
It's kind of like, I think they have the little ones.
Yeah.
That put in
the
their
little fitted ones.
Yeah, fitted ones. And then that way they can kind of hear themselves. But for podcasting stuff, and did you set that to manual focus? All right, so this is great. Kylie always double check. Is it on? Is it on?
This is good. Everything's good. Okay, have fun.
All right. Yay, there we go.
Cool.
Okay, so this is it. Okay, this is what I usually do. I go, hello, welcome to a new podcast.
Okay.
And I have Jennifer Moss here.
Correct.
And what's your title, or for people that don't know you, what is it that you do?
So the unofficial is probably Jill of all trades. The official,
Jill of all trades.
Jill of all trades.
Oh, I was like, I've only heard it, Jack of all trades.
We're equal opportunity gender
and
recognition.
let me just grab this mic, so kind of want to position it near your mouth. Perfect.
Not a problem.
There you go.
So my official title would be owner, as well as director of sales and marketing. So I oversee all the profit centers. Mm-hmm. But when you put owner anywhere on anything, it's anything that doesn't get done.
Oh,
falls
falls
into your spectrum. So I play face of the company, kind of the voice piece of Generation 4, as well as the company as a whole. But I am also tech.
Wow.
We're a little bit different for a large grower at Moss Greenhouses, because the sales team actually dictates what we grow.
Oh, okay.
So
So the company that we're talking about is Moss Greenhouse.
Correct.
And are you guys primarily located in Jerome, or is there multiple locations?
So our main location for people to come to is Jerome, but we do actually have a second growing location that we have in Buell.
Oh, okay.
And so, this year's a big year.
Okay.
We started in 1952. So doing a little bit of math. On a Friday, I don't math well. Exactly. Yeah. We're celebrating our 70th anniversary this year.
Oh, okay.
And my brother, Dewey, and I are taking over the company officially. So,
wow. Okay. Congratulations.
And condolences. Some days. It feels like I've had a couple of weeks of that. But it is a full moon today, so maybe there's a little bit of that going on. So we're going from Generation 3 to Generation 4.
Oh, okay.
So there's a lot of moving pieces. And a lot of people don't realize, they just think we have our little shop.
Yeah.
We're actually 85% wholesale.
Oh, okay.
We ship to 7 different states in about a 700-mile radius with a full truck fleet.
Wow. Yeah.
Well, and you get to enjoy our baskets looking out your front door here for Main Street.
That's awesome.
And if you go to Sun Valley in the summer to watch ice skating, those are all our flowers. And when you drive through Ketchum and see the hanging baskets, and this year we're actually going to be the Burley City containers as well. And then we work with several different wholesale locations. And so both locally and kind of all over Idaho. And
so you're telling me any flower that I see might be potentially
us.
Potentially came from you guys.
There's some really good local growers as well that grow a lot of their own stuff as well. So I don't want to take any credit from them, because we've got some killer garden centers around town.
Yeah.
That do an amazing job. But we're definitely the guy that's been doing it for a while.
Yeah.
And, Dewey and I neither of us ever planned on working at the business.
Yeah. What were you thinking you were going to be, I guess? Yeah.
So,
what was your original plan when you were growing up?
Yeah. So I'm a third generation Vandal. And so I went to University of Idaho. My dad was, he's a mechanical engineer, and it had taken him 5 years to do school. So he made me a deal. He said, took me 5 years. I'll pay for 5 for you. I was like, oh, great. Awesome. I'm super fortunate that my parents could do that for me at the time. In-state only. That was the deal.
Yeah.
When it was affordable. College has gotten expensive.
Yeah.
So I actually took that time and got 2 bachelor's degrees while I was there. And
in what?
I did public relations with a specialty in event planning, and then communications with a psychology background.
Oh.
I think I put half the football team through school
Wow.
at one point. And my big dream job was to plan Winter X Games.
Oh,
So,
that would be really cool.
Yeah, so I loved
But
event planning.
Are you good at snowboarding or something?
So we grew up skiing. My brother actually went pro for a long time. My uncle was on the U.S. demo team. The whole family's expert skiers. Yeah,
Wow.
so snow is a big part of our lives. And honestly, with our profession, you kind of have to capitalize on the winter because it's the downtime you get.
Yeah, what happens in a greenhouse in winter?
Oh my gosh. Actually, this is a funny story. All the time when people see me in the winter, they're like, oh gosh, you must just have all this downtime. And I'm like,
Yeah.
are you freaking nuts? No, I'm stupid busy right now. So we actually, to get perennials, right? So perennials are the plants that come back in your garden year after year. They don't bloom in the first year. And a lot of people don't know that. So we actually plant those in the summer.
Okay.
Get them up to full size, and then we put them in their finished container, and then we put them outside.
Oh,
And we winter them.
In winter then?
Yeah, so that when they come to the garden center for you to buy in the spring, that they are blooming.
Oh.
So, I mean, let's put it this way. So a farm would be starting to till the ground now and planning out their seeds, bringing them in, getting all the equipment serviced so that they can go start to plant. And then they'll go through their growth cycle. And then in the fall, they're starting to harvest, right?
Oh, okay.
So if we take that same footprint and put it into a greenhouse, I am getting close to harvest.
Oh, okay.
So that's probably the best way to explain it to people, especially in an agriculture state like Idaho. And greenhouse is agriculture. So the way my dad describes it, and it's very well done, we farm in boxes.
Farm in boxes.
That's what we do.
An interesting.
We farm in boxes.
Well, they're also covered.
Yeah. So we've got greenhouses. So there's the Jerome facility. We've got about, gosh, I counted this yesterday. Or no, I counted it when Drew was out taking pictures for Times News. We've got 20 greenhouses in Jerome, and we've got 20 in Buell.
What? That's
And the ones in Jerome are really big.
Oh, how big?
So our largest greenhouse there is 1 acre large.
That must be like giant.
Yeah, you're going to ask me the square footage of that. Yeah, I have no idea.
Yeah, you're like, it's big.
I think it's 40,000 square feet. But again, Friday, don't math on Friday.
Yeah, math.
Active verb. I'm an engineer's daughter. Math is usually very easy for me, but not today.
Not today.
Not today.
Yeah, we just usually on Fridays, I'm like, okay, just got to get through today. And then I get a few days off. And then I'm like, then I'll resume. Monday's like a slow build up for me.
Oh, yeah. Usually, so I've hit that point in the season where it's like, oh, I should start working on Sundays so that Monday doesn't feel like I'm being thrown into a turbine or the bottom of a blender.
Yes.
So, we've hit that point in the year. But, the cool thing about my job is when you bring plants to somebody or you help them succeed in their own gardening endeavor.
Yeah.
You just see this passion and this ignition happen in them. Like you see the fire in their eyes and they're like, this is so cool. And so when you have a frustrating day or a moment or a customer's upset, you can just kind of go out in the greenhouse and be like, the plants are not talking back. Now, I say that. And of course, plants do talk back. They tell you about it, but you've got to be looking for it.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Is the greenhouse open to the public itself?
Yes. So we have a retail store at the front. And how that kind of came about is one day my grandmother was planting whiskey barrels, bent over, putting marigolds and pansies or whatever into them. And she looked up and people were coming in every single door.
Oh, okay.
So that was the point where she was like, okay, we better open a retail. And so I think we've had a retail out there almost 40 years. And so we're just open 4 months a year. It's a very short season for us, but second Saturday of March to second Saturday of July. And so we've been open since last Saturday.
Okay.
And March, it's, Monday through Saturday. And then once we hit April, it's 7 days a week.
And are things blooming now?
Oh,
or
yeah.
like they are? Okay, because
Oh,
I'm not
yeah.
I'm not a plant person.
So
I don't
of-
know. Like I'm like
You
I just
have plants down here.
these
a lot
are
of them
fake
are fake
plants.
I know. I
These
wasn't
are-
going to pick on you. But that's okay. Succulents are what I would call
Yeah.
the gateway drug to gardening. Succulents and houseplants.
You don't have to really take care of them.
Well, they're
or,
kind of...
or slightly take care of them.
I'm gonna make a contradicting statement. They're a dummy-proof plant,
Okay.
but I can kill succulents like a professional.
Oh,
I love them too much.
My dad did this thing where he had he found this driftwood, and then he would basically kind of like cut out like a
Oh,
hole,
yeah.
and then put succulents in there.
Oh, yeah.
And it looks so cool.
Web Nursery does, or Web Garden Center, however they term themselves, but over at the old Kelly Garden Center on Addison and Eastland, in the fall, they do these killer seminars where they actually have driftwood and you put succulents into
there?
the driftwood for, and they make great centerpieces if you're going to have, Easter is our nearest holiday. It's on St. Patrick's Day.
Yeah.
There's probably several people with green tongues and hangovers this morning.
Yes, yeah.
Because I know that the street was quite busy last night.
It was indeed. I was like, it took me forever to get back. Because the streets get blocked off.
Oh, yeah.
And then it's like, and then everybody is in this area, and it's like, how am I gonna get home? Because you can't cross.
I was going to run an errand, but it was over on Second on the other side.
Yeah.
And I had a Christmas party during the Christmas parade that was on the other side and forgot about the parade. And I was like, I can wait.
Yeah.
I don't need to try to go downtown.
I normally take my dog to the dog park, and I tried getting there, and I was like, this is going to be forever. So I was like, we did a scooter ride around town because it's much easier to just get around and then it felt like we were in like LA traffic or something like that yesterday. This is crazy.
Well, a lot of people don't love that we have all of every state moving to us, but
Yeah, everybody's like, welcome to Idaho.
I know. I just keep telling them, don't tell your friends. Don't tell your friends. But honestly, there's a lot of positives that'll end up happening. It's just that kind of that messy middle. We've kind of just have to go through the growing pains.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, nobody really likes it in the beginning, but it'll get better.
Well, and especially locals. I mean, I grew up here, but I moved away and I came back, and I never thought I'd live in the Magic Valley my entire life. Like that was actually a goal as a teenager, never live in Magic Valley.
I think a lot of teenagers are like that.
100%.
But then you know what ends up happening? They come back.
Yes.
They realize it's a joke. The grass is not greener on the other side.
It's just green.
It's just green.
It's just green. And to raise the family here, oh my gosh, it's such a better, like, controlled environment, so to speak. That's probably a bad way to say it.
Yeah, I know what you mean. It's not as hectic as big cities where it's like,
so much more
I was in
exposure.
LA once, and I felt like somebody was gonna jump me. I heard people like we were walking on the main road, and my friends kind of walked away from me a bit, and then I'm just kind of like slacking back, and I heard, "Get him."
Oh, geez.
I was like, "Oh my God,
That's not daunting at all.
Who are they gonna get?" And I was like, I'm
I
the
better
only
get
one.
my
And then I was
act
like,
outta
hey
here.
guys, wait for me. I was like, I gotta go. And then, so you don't want to be in a city where, things like that is. It's much more pleasant for families here, I feel like.
And, people, like, as you start to get to know the community, you can go to the grocery store and run into people you know.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
And I can't go anywhere this time of year and not be recognized.
Yeah, there you go.
It's garden season, so I'll be in the kitchen in the morning, right?
Yeah.
Just making coffee, having a nice calm morning, got the news on, and then I'll hear myself on the television. I'm like, oh,
Ooh, that's me.
and you never know what you sound like.
Oh, yeah.
And it's even interesting to hear myself in,
Well, yeah,
in
this.
the headphones. But you never know what you sound like until you're seeing yourself on the television and you're like, oh, gosh.
Yeah.
We always have a fun thing happen. And, somebody else would get offended, but I have pretty thick skin. And I always say what other people think of me is none of my business. Because I don't care.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter.
That's how I'm too. I'm like, yeah.
Well, I'm not everybody's cup of whiskey. I'm not. And that's okay. I'm more a shot of a tequila kind of girl. So it's pretty funny. We had a lady call a couple of years ago, and my marketing gal picked up the phone, and she's like, Moss Greenhouses. She goes, "Are you the lady on the commercials?" Like, well, no, ma'am. Well, I just want to let her know that red hair just looks terrible.
Oh, really?
And I only film commercials every once in a while, and we'll just recycle what we can. Because frankly, there's a lot going on at the greenhouse, and there's just not a lot of time to do that stuff. And my channel 7 Gal is amazing. So we just work it out, and we do a couple commercials, and we try to make them transition. But oh gosh, she wanted to tell me how bad my red hair looked and that my brown curls were just so much better. And it's like, I'm in the greenhouse last spring, and a lady looks at me. She's sitting, I'm just standing in retail. I just got done doing our Facebook Live that I do every Wednesday. And goes, "Gosh, you're the lady on the commercials, huh?" And I was like, "Yeah, how are you?" Just polite as could be. And she goes, "Your voice sounds like nails on a chalkboard."
Oh.
Well, it's so glad you're here.
I feel like this is just part of the being in front of people's eyes and things like that. Everybody has an opinion. And it's like, you just got to go, all right, sure, and brush it off.
Exactly. Well, and I've always kind of been that person.
That's good. That's good.
Hold your space.
How many plants do you guys typically grow in a year? If you had to just take a wild guess.
It's over 20 million.
20 million plants.
Individual plants.
Oh my gosh.
So like a traditional seeding week. So we're probably like roughly half seed items and then half what we would call vegetative. So we get them in as little cuttings and then we're sticking them. So an average week in peak, she's probably doing anywhere from 2,000 to 3,000 trays.
Okay.
And each tray has 288 cells. So times 3,000 by 288.
I have no idea. I'm not
Again, Friday. We're not mathing.
Let's get that. Yeah.
So let's put this into the calculator. So let's just say it's a 2,500 tray week times. Let's see if I could type. We would
Thank
just.
God
be
you
in
got a
like
calculator because I don't want to be put on the spot.
So 7,000 or 700,000, 720,000 plants in a busy week in the back.
Wow. Yeah. That's crazy. That's a lot of plants. Here's a good question. Like, for somebody that doesn't have too many plants or is just getting started in this, what should they come in and get? What would you say is a good recommendation? Like, okay, let me set you up with a starter kit, I guess.
So the first thing I ask somebody, because usually if you're getting into gardening, you have a goal or a purpose, right?
Yeah.
So I want to make my own salsa. Or
I want to have strawberries.
Or my mother-in-law is coming over for Mother's Day and I want a nice pot on the front patio, whatever it is. So it could be strawberries. I want to make jam with the kids. I always we figure out what the goal of the consumer is first. So what do you want to garden? What is your goal? So do you want houseplants? Do you want to be a plant parent, and have 300 pots in your kitchen and your entire weekend is dedicated to watering and trimming and repotting?
I don't understand how people go ahead and do that. You must be some type of person to have like a bazillion plants. I heard this word plant lady. Is that like a thing?
That's totally a thing. And then hashtag plant parent and
plant lady.
Plant addict. There's a whole slew of social media stuff. But the best way I could probably describe it, as probably the only tattooed person in my family, tattoos are addicting.
Okay.
Plant growing is addicting.
Oh, okay.
If you succeed at it, it's kind of like drinking the Kool-Aid and you're like, oh my gosh, if I can get this to grow, what else can I get to grow? And I'm a foodie. I came from the restaurant industry before I came back to the family business. And vegetables taste different out of your own garden.
That's true. It's like anytime I've had like a homegrown strawberry or tomato,
lettuce, anything
better.
I actually, this is terrible. grow my own cucumbers, or, if it's before my harvest or after my harvest, because I'm not as good about, you're never as good at your own garden as you are for somebody else. It's like the person who cleans for a living, their house is never clean.
Yeah.
Same thing. And so I will actually support both of Countryside Market that's out on Addison, and then Blue Rock, whatever she's black, the old Sprouts that's over on Pole Line. I know she's not called Sprouts anymore, but I go over there and I buy my produce because I know it's locally grown. I know that they do a good job. We actually work with both of them, and I support them. And then I go to the farmers markets on the weekends because if I don't have it, they do. So it's perfect. I know I'm getting it local. It's sustainable. Most of the time it's organic because those guys don't do a lot of chemicals, or they're doing something safely. And once tomato and cucumber season's over, I'm done eating them.
Yeah.
Until I'm desperate in like January and February, and I'm like, okay, I'll try them. Let's see how they taste.
Yeah.
But
I feel like you're spoiled with this.
Oh, I'm so spoiled.
Yeah.
When it comes to fresh produce, I have a rule. So I have twin stepdaughters, Gwen and Aurora. Aurora loves tomatoes. Like she would eat tomatoes with every meal. So our rule at home is you have to eat a fruit or vegetable with every meal. I don't care if you have banana with spaghetti, does not matter. I just need you to eat a fruit or vegetable. So we're just trying to kind of influence that healthy eating, right?
Yeah.
And Aurora will go out and pick huge bowls of cherry tomatoes and just have them on the counter through the week, right? Well, her sister Gwen hates tomatoes, but we have a deal. So every year I bribe her and I'm like, all right, you got to taste it. You just have to eat one tomato. And I mean, we literally set her up with the little like sun sugar
little
golden
tomatoes.
ones
Yeah.
that are like straight candy. And she hard pass. Hard pass every time. But they're, if you're going to get your kids to like them,
you might as well give them the freshest.
exactly. And have them in the garden with you. I mean, heck, you don't want to bend over and weed all those, the weeds on the ground. Have them as a part of it.
Yeah.
Hey, we'll go to ice cream if you help me weed. Get a bucket, fill it. There's kind of, you got to make that trade-off as a parent. You're trying to teach them to get outside. You're trying to get them away from screens. You want them to eat healthily. So have them come in and pick out your seeds with you.
Oh, kind of make it like a family kind of thing.
100%. Because if they're invested in the process, like, oh my gosh, Mom, there is purple string beans. I want to grow purple string beans because then I can feed them to my imaginary unicorn, some little girl. You just see it. She's got a princess tutu on.
Yeah.
Every dad listening to the podcast is like, I have that daughter. And if you invest them in the process, like it's stupid easy to get them to try them. Are they going to love them? All I always tell parents is butter and salt.
Yeah.
Cook them with butter and salt. You have a chance if there's butter and salt.
You got to put butter and salt, and then there's a slight chance.
A slight chance. It was cute. So I, when I met my husband, the kids, it was very processed food. He was a bachelor, single, and they didn't really eat vegetables. So it was kind of a couple of years of painful dinners, and now I roast our vegetables. I make sure everything tastes good. We heavily season. So everything has flavor. So they're out with their grandma at Olive Garden. And they're like, oh, I'd love a side of broccoli.
Yeah.
So they bring it out. And my husband had joined them, and I was working, and they go to taste it, and they're like, this is not broccoli. And I was like, well, it's steamed broccoli with no seasoning.
No seasoning. Oops, sorry.
It's definitely broccoli.
Yeah. Well, I feel like you're spoiling your kids then because you're like, this is way better now.
I've ruined them.
Yes.
Guarantee it. I've ruined my husband too. He's like, I can never be a bachelor again. I'll be gone for a week on a work trip, and he'll call me and he's like, you've ruined. Yeah. I can't have baked. I was actually sick at the beginning of the year, and so I went and got like a couple of frozen, like those Stouffer's, and just so that they had a hot meal because I was toast. I was done, and they went and did Grandma's chicken and rice bake or something from Stouffer's, and I just remember the red box. Throw it in the oven, and both Brandon and Aurora are just like, this is absolutely terrible.
Yes.
I was like, you guys are really spoiled. you know.
Spoil. What about, can you tell me a little bit more of how the company started?
Yes. So there's an awesome story.
What's the story of, what's the history of this? A lot of people like hearing how it began. And,
okay.
You know.
So let's go back to Gooding County in 1940. So
wow, that's a long time ago.
it's a minute ago. So my great-grandfather, Ed Adams, met Ruth Shaver in high school, and they got married. They had 3 sons and my grandma at the end. And my granddad, I call him granddad, so that's my great-grandfather. So Ed was, he owned Adams Grocery in Gooding, Idaho.
Okay.
And he had a heart attack. And his doctor said, you need to find a less stressful profession. So he bought a farm. We all know that's counterproductive now. And so they actually moved to where our greenhouses are in Jerome now in 1940. And
land was probably cheaper back then.
Oh, buddy. So was gasoline. Apparently that's a thing.
Exactly. That was probably 20 cents a gallon. Like 10 cents a gallon. Now we're like...
Oh, God. And cars probably didn't go over 35 miles an hour back then.
The roads were probably all rickety.
Oh, man. You know? Well, and great-grandma Ruth was way into irises. Granddad really loved plants. And they would farm all summer. And then in the winter, he actually had these old buses. And he'd turn them into campers. And he would drive down to Central America and go fishing.
Fishing in Central America.
Fishing, yeah, it's a thing.
That's an interesting story right there itself. He's like, I'm going fishing.
I'm going fishing, and I'm going somewhere warm, right? And he'd be gone for a couple of months, and so he'd go down, and at the end of his fishing trip, he loved their plants so much he'd fill up the bus.
Okay.
And don't tell the Department of Ag.
Yeah.
This is always a joke I make. We work very well with the Department of Ag. Actually, I was on a call with him yesterday. So, what he would do is he'd fill up the bus and bring it back up. And he took old 2x4s and windows, and he built what they called the Oval Office right behind the house.
Okay.
And it was just a greenhouse that he built himself, and he filled it with a whole bunch of potted plants, and he became one of the premier orchid growers in the country. Oh, wow. And because he understood the grocery business and kind of the florist side of that from having Adams Grocery, so he would do prom corsages and potted dahlias and begonias, and you'd go out and see Ed and Ruth.
Yeah.
And so he'd take the old banana boxes from the grocery store, and every picture I have of my granddad, he's got a big old cigar in his mouth, and he's delivering plants in banana boxes.
Banana boxes, huh?
Oh, yeah, with the traditional cigar, which today's world, absolutely not. Tobacco mosaic virus is a thing. You cannot do that, but it's just kind of that history. And so my grandma, Carolyn Adams, at the time, met my grandpa, DeWitt Moss. And so DeWitt and Carolyn met in high school over in Jerome at the Barrymore Schoolhouse.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so we didn't even have schools in town at this point. Right. And he always kind of jokes they were high school sweethearts. They went to every prom together, and he said she was the prettiest girl in school, and she had $50 in her pocket from digging potatoes, so I married her.
That's good enough right there.
Well, and
Game, set, match.
Yeah, my grandmother still to this day is one of the most beautiful women, and everybody thinks she's my mother.
Oh,
I mean, she
really?
honestly...
Wow. That's cool.
Yeah, she just turned... an older age. I'm not going to date my grandmother on a podcast, but she's just a rad lady. She's the only woman in her older age that I know still does Zumba and body pump 5 days a week.
Wow.
She's in incredible shape.
Her grandma sounds really cool.
Yeah. So what ended up happening is Grandpa DeWitt, so they get married, and he went to the Colorado School of Mines. And he went and got his bachelor's in chemical engineering. And then he joined a program with the Atomic Energy Commission. And that's like basically the nuclear arm of the president's office at that point in the country. And he joined a program where you could go to graduate school and get your master's in nuclear engineering.
Okay.
And so he went and did that in Tennessee, and Grandma became a paralegal, and they were growing the family at the same time. Nice. So my dad was born in 59, I think. Yep. And my uncle was born in 61, and one of them was born in, Colorado, and the other one was born in Tennessee. And so they started to move around. And my grandfather became a specialist in nuclear reactors.
Oh, wow. That's cool.
Yes.
Yeah, that's very...
Helped with some of the development of the atomic bomb. I mean, so it's just kind of like he's this scary smart.
Wow. Yeah.
Scary smart.
Yeah, there's
no
people
slack.
there's people that are smart, but then there's scary smart.
Oh, straight up.
It's like, yeah, when you see those crazy boards with all these equations and so
He
forth.
understands it.
Yeah. I can imagine
And
that.
otherwise, I'm like, it's just molecules on a paper item. I don't know what's going on.
Yeah. Like imagine, like I'm like, how does one even split an atom?
Oh, he could tell you. And he could tell you the half-life of plutonium. Like, it's...
We're going to get flagged now. We're saying plutonium.
Yeah, Russia's upset.
Yeah.
So what ended up happening is he was good enough at his job that, okay, so you had the president, you have his nuclear advisor, and then you have the Atomic Energy Commission. And so Grandpa was right there, and he was so good that his boss said, I need you to go from power plant to power plant and fix problems.
Okay.
If it takes you more than 2 years, I'm going to assume you're part of the problem.
Yeah.
And so he was extremely motivated. And so they moved from power plant to power plant across the country.
How many power plants was it? Is there
I
like
have
a lot?
There was a lot more then. It's actually an extremely clean energy option.
Yeah, we still have one. It's called INL or something like
so
that.
that's actually where a lot of my dad's youth was spent, is over in Rexburg, because my grandpa was a part of the INEL plant at the time, and now it's INL. I
INL,
think
yeah, I
they
think
took the two E's out.
Oh, really?
Apparently they're...
I wanted to get a tour over there. Yeah.
Yeah, good luck.
Good
I have
luck.
no idea how you get in there.
I think you just got to call somebody up and I'm like, yeah, I'd like to get a tour. And then...
You got to get a hold of their marketing department and say, hey,
yeah.
I really want to
Maybe
talk
they'll
about
see
the
this.
positives of nuclear energy.
I think they're trying to make like smaller reactors or something like that. Really small
There's
ones that can like
actually-
run just the city or something like that.
They're coming up with some mobile options too.
Yeah, it's crazy, the
I
technology.
was hearing about, my dad was actually telling me about this last night. There's a company that's created, and they're working with INL, that's created these mobile nuclear reactors that they're taking into Poland to help take care of these military centers. And, it'd be a great option for like mobile hospitals and stuff.
Who knows? Maybe the future batteries could be like that.
Well, and it's super solid technology. You have a little bit of the political strife between Democratic agendas and Republican agendas. But what it comes down to, it's the processing of the raw material or the excess when you're done. They have to have a safe way to do that, because if that's not safe, then the environment's not safe.
Yeah.
And then time of war. So there's all the stuff there,
all
but
that stuff.
I won't touch that.
Yeah, we'll leave that subject.
We'll leave that for another.
Somebody
a little more educated to talk about that. It's a little more politically correct, probably.
One of these days, I like to talk to like a physicist or somebody that knows like way too much. I've had like all kinds of interesting people on the podcast, like a geologist, a historian.
I might be able to get Grandpa on here to talk to you.
That would be interesting.
He did. He came to the Noon Rotary when I was in the Noon Rotary here, and did just an incredible talk. He was so
just picking his brain. It would be interesting because it's like if somebody doesn't capture that knowledge, it just possibly just goes.
Exactly.
So this is kind of like why I'm doing a lot of these podcasts, is because I want to at least try to capture the knowledge or what the person has to say.
You have to, because everything's in print now, and we have so much information. That's why it's really important to kind of be able to dumb it down and be the expert and be able to relate to people.
Yeah.
And so it was really interesting when my grandpa was putting his talk together for Rotary. I sat him down and I said, all right, now you have to explain it to me.
Yeah, like dumb it down.
Yeah.
Can
you explain it to me? Because if I can understand it, then the group can understand it. Because I didn't grow up in it. So Grandpa did a really good job. Let's put it that way. And he ended up in 1972 getting a really big promotion that was going to kind of land him and the family in either like New York, Chicago, or Washington, D.C. And that's the part when he was like, hard stop. Carolyn, let's go back to your family farm and let's try to start a company. If we don't succeed, I can always come back to the nuclear industry. But my dad was in 8th grade and my uncle was in 6th grade. And they were like, these ruffians should not be raised in a big city. They were boys, whatever.
Yeah.
I think any boy is kind of rough and tough around the edges. And so at that point, they actually came back to Jerome, and Ed looked at DeWitt and Carolyn and said, you guys need to start a wholesale bedding plant nursery. And King's Discount Stores in Twin Falls was our first customer.
Oh, I do. Yeah,
we'll go into King's. There's a whole story with them. So, yeah, we worked with them for a long time. They're gone now.
I know.
They liquidated in 2017.
Like running through my head. I'm like, King's. I'm like, I used to go there. They had like
the
a toy
department.
store.
Oh, the basement. That was so cool.
Yes.
Well, Jerome had it too, because there was, when I grew up, my third grade teacher.
Bring back
I'll give you Tom King's number.
Yeah.
He's in the real estate game now because he had to sell all those stores.
No. That toy store was like a kid's paradise.
Oh my God. It was so cool.
Yeah. Like that was like kids heaven.
One of my best memories with my grandpa when I was little, because he was working so much that I, if I wanted to see him, I had to be out in the greenhouse, and he took me to the King's. I can't remember if it was Jerome or Twin, and he bought me a Barbie car. Mm-hmm. Now, I didn't have Barbies. I had G.I. Joes, but I still wanted the pink car.
Yeah.
It was a big deal. Anyways, so they come back to the family farm. They start building greenhouses, and they start growing plants. And they both had farmed, and, Ed and Ruth had farmed, so they understood farming, right? So as quick as DeWitt could put up greenhouses, Carolyn would fill them. Mm-hmm. And then her older brother, Jack Adams, who... to bring it full circle, the Petrozelli Electric, one of their daughters married Paul Petrozelli, so that's all family. Okay. And Jack was the dentist in Jerome forever and ever and ever. Mm-hmm. And he had these big sausage fingers, and he had suspenders on all the time, and they always tasted like cigars because he was Ed's son. Mm-hmm. And I remember having him as a dentist and dreading going to see my great uncle Jack because... I mean, my brother jokes, he's like, I thought Novocaine tasted like tobacco for like the first 10 years of my life.
Oh, wow.
It's just kind of a funny. So Jack actually wrote the program that, zeros and ones that would process the orders. And if Carolyn told you it was pretty on the phone, you bought it. Okay. And they actually are who secured the original Sun Valley Company job, where we actually go up and plant the entire resort to this day. Oh, okay. And,
that's so interesting. Just like knowing that fact now, that like it's like when I go to Sun Valley next time, like when I see the flowers, I'm like, I know where these come from.
Oh well, and I want to tell you a couple more spots you can find it, but that is truly our showpiece. They do an incredible job. By 4th of July weekend, we've got everything installed. What happens kind of after that is up to Mother Nature to a certain degree, and it just looks outstanding up there on the 4th. And I always go down and see the the rodeo in Haley if I'm up there. That's kind of the locals thing. Mm-hmm. Okay, so Grandma and Grandpa grow the business. My dad and my uncle would farm the 100 acres just north of the greenhouse. Okay. And that's how they raised money to go to college. So Dad actually went to Colorado School of Mines for... I think a year and a half, came back to CSI, got a couple more credits in it, ended up going to Moscow and went to University of Idaho. And actually my great granddad, Ed, went to Moscow too. And that's how I'm 3rd generation Vandal. Oh, okay. So it wasn't DeWitt and Carolyn. So Dad goes to Moscow at the same time his brother Greg does, right? So they're both Vandals. Dad gets a mechanical engineering degree, meets my mom in micro or macroeconomics class in the student union building doing homework. Mm-hmm. It took him a year to convince her to go on a date with him. Wow. I don't know. She just wasn't having it.
It's like he slowly worked his way in.
He had to kind of navigate that. Yeah. And
well, I'm also impressed that you remember all of these details. I would never be able to like tell all these details.
I have to tell this story quite a bit, actually. So
you can just be like, let me show you a podcast now.
Exactly. So, and we're working on building a video, and actually I can kind of put in the pictures because I have some of the really cool old articles from like the Northside Journal of Ed and Ruth's 50th anniversary party in their yard. And, when the paper did that kind of stuff. Yeah, and kind of, it's really neat. I did an interview actually yesterday with Charlie from Northside Journal, and he's just like, man, and I have the big articles like blown up on the wall. And he goes, man, I was like, yeah, that's your newspaper. The date's written right there. Like we kept these. And so it's just kind of fun to see it come full circle. So Mom was, so dad was mechanical engineering. He was actually only one class away from getting a mathematics degree too. So when I say I can't math on a Friday.
He's probably not carrying a calculator around.
Well, my brother's got that brain too, and I've got it, but I'm definitely more, my grandmother with the speaking piece. And, my brother, I think it was his ACT test. He forgot his calculator. He still got a 99 on the math.
Great.
So
it's really good. He's
stupid easy for him.
Yeah.
And math's always been simple for me. It's always funny because my kids will come home and it's like 5th grade homework. And I'm like, they're having you do what?
Yeah.
You gotta draw a box and do what? Like, I gotta Google this. Like,
you gotta Google.
I can just show you how to do it, but why you have to show your work? Crap.
No. Yeah.
We always have to figure it out. But of course, we had parent teacher conferences today or 2 days ago, and I was
It's like you almost have to become the math. You're learning math as they're learning math as well, because you got to relearn some of that stuff.
You got to relearn it backwards. And I'm just like, are you guys just double checking your work? You just have to do this backwards. And they're like, what? You do that? I'm like, yeah. And I actually asked them, and I asked the teachers in parent teacher conferences, I was like, have you taught them how to check their work?
Yeah.
And they're like, no, we're getting to that, but I'm really glad you're starting to teach it.
Yeah.
And it turns out a lot of parents don't do homework with their kids. It just baffles me.
Yeah.
You're teaching your children. Come on.
Yeah.
Anyways, so mom was getting a marketing degree.
Oh, okay.
In the journalism and mass media school is what I think it's called now. It's what it was called when I was up there. And so it's kind of funny. And she ended up getting her MRS instead of her BS. I know that to this day, she's like, I wish I would have just finished the degree, but I was too intent on marrying your dad.
Yeah.
So they actually went to the oil fields in Wyoming after that. And dad did engineering, and he graduated in 82. And then the economy went down, right? So they ended up moving back like a year later. And I was actually born in 85, where our plug house still sits in a single wide trailer.
Oh, okay.
So, I mean, it's come completely full circle. And then my dad, when he got involved in the business, because mom was raising me and then Dewey came shortly after me, he got in on kind of the ground level and helped build moss seedlings.
Okay.
So we used to have a seedling business where we grow little baby plants and ship them out through brokers all over the country. This was back when there was only like 15 growers who did this. To date today, there's like over 400.
Yeah.
And he did that all through the 80s and then built that up through the 90s and then began the transition from generation 2, my grandparents, to generation 3, my parents, kind of mid 90s. And they started a 10-year buyout in 96. And at that point, we kind of had to make a decision. Are we going to continue with the seedling business, or are we really going to focus on wholesale and finish plants and then still have our retail open? And kind of made a decision to start to eliminate the seedling piece. Now, that being said, we still work with like high schools and college programs, especially horticulture, because we want to kind of garner that next employee and teach students with plugs, how to do it, because you're not going to learn how to grow if you can't take it from this size and turn it into this size. So they began the buyout. So my mom raised Dewey and I until we both could ride the school bus to school.
Yeah.
So it was
usually
about,
how it goes, huh?
yeah. So I think 92 would be when Dewey would have been starting to go to kindergarten. So, or 91, 92. So that's when mom joined the business and she started to learn Carolyn's job. And Carolyn had quite a presence. I'm always so complimented when people say, you remind me of your grandmother. Because it's a huge compliment. She's still a force to be reckoned with.
Yeah.
She's still around. So my mom came in and started to train for Carolyn's job, and then my dad became general manager, and then they started a 10-year buyout. So in 96, when they took over, grandma and grandpa immediately exited. It was just these guys, now these guys. We're doing it different in generation 3 to 4, but the company's different now. So in 96, dad and mom really kind of got on the ground level and said, we got to grow the company. And they actually doubled it in size within a year or two with the customer base. And Albertsons was a big part of it at that point when there was only 30 Albertsons stores. Obviously with the merge with Safeway, it's a lot different now. But they put up greenhouses very quickly.
Your guys' flowers were in Albertsons as well, too?
So let me finish the history and then I'll show you.
I keep on interrupting you.
No, you're okay.
Yeah.
That's all right. Ask away. And I can kind of break down kind of our customer base because our plants are in a lot of places. So 10-year buyout finished in 2006. So during that time, I'm up at University of Idaho. My brother is actually at Albertsons at the time, but now College of Idaho. And we didn't have any plans coming back at that point. And Dad kind of they had rules, right? So you had to go far enough away to college that you couldn't come home to do your laundry on the weekends. He didn't want me to be a Bronco. That's what it was. And there was a much
far away,
much bigger rivalry back then. He didn't want me to go to VSU. And I tried. Oh my God. I went to the campus, and this was before the campus looked cool and the football team was any good.
Yeah.
And I got there and was like, oh, I can't go here. It's not going to work. And I went to Vandal Friday up in Moscow and was like, oh my God, this is it. This is where I need to be.
Gotcha.
And I keep telling my kids, like, you're going to school. There's no choice in it, but you get to decide what you want to do. You want to do trade school. You want to go to college. All I ask of you is that you go see the schools, because you need to know where you're going. And so I went to Moscow. Dewey went to College of Idaho. We both went and studied what we wanted. Dad never pushed us. He wanted us to chase our dreams. He wanted to give us that opportunity. And the whole rule was you had to leave and want to come back. He did not want you to feel forced or obligated. It had to be a choice. And it ended up being a choice for both of us. It was kind of a natural fit, but we both kind of had to come to it in our own time. And 2006, so I graduated college 2008, so my dad and I can commiserate about this. We both graduated in a time where the economy was headed into the tank.
Yeah,
so
I do remember that time. It was like, thankfully I was in a job that they're like, this is not going to affect us. And I was like, oh, thank God.
Yeah, I was not. I moved to Portland after taking a backpacking trip with my best friend to Europe after graduation. Inner Southeast is where I was living. I was like really close to Mount Tabor.
Oh, okay.
And like 28th and Hawthorne.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So, a lot of like cool stuff to see over there with waterfalls and
I loved
nature.
Portland.
Yeah.
I adopted a dog. Like that was a big thing for me. I wanted my own dog so bad my whole youth, and my parents were like, not until you're out of college. And so I adopted a husky Malamute cross from the Humane Society over there, and we would spend every day going to Mount Tabor to the dog park.
Oh, okay.
And I learned to longboard at 23 after college, of course, when you're not breakable. And we would go, Mount Tabor would close down the roads to cars on Wednesdays, and we'd go do we'd bomb down the hill.
Oh, wow. Like super fast?
Yeah, they also had the zoo bomb. So you go over to the Portland Zoo and you could bomb down that road. That one was like death trap. It was next level. I just actually got my kids longboards. And they're like, and I got them pads, like knee pads, elbow pads, wrist pads, helmets. And their mother, who I'm very good friends with, she was just like, she's a bubble mom. She wants to keep them out of bubble. And I'm like, no. And so I give them the longboards, and they're just like, oh my God, these are so cool. And I was like, okay, so here's the deal. You're gonna fall down. You're going to hurt yourself. As long as you know that, we're gonna be fine. Yeah. So that my rite of passage coming down Mount Tabor, road burn.
How fast were you typically going?
Oh, you can get going 30, 40 miles an hour at a certain point.
Crazy.
It's a little scary.
I have seen those videos where you see like, people, they got a helmet and they're just going so fast down a mountain. It's so
cool though.
It's like a rush. I feel like maybe you're an adventure, like an
adrenaline chick.
Yeah, adrenaline junkie. We jumped off the bridge or skydived.
That is a perfectly good bridge. Yeah. Perfectly good plane. I don't need to be jumping on. I will watch. I will support. Yeah. I will rah all day.
No, you gotta do it. I gotta convince you now to do it.
Okay.
It's not that bad.
Sean Chun is a friend, and he still hasn't talked me into it.
Yeah, I feel like he's a great.
His girlfriend Brendan's.
I think you got to do it once, and it's a rush. I did it, and what a rush! Because like just the jumping off of it, amazing.
Getting over the rail.
That's a little bit sketchy.
Tricky.
Yeah, but
so if I could run off of a cliff and not have to climb over something and like psych myself out, I might have a chance.
Well, all you got to do is like be like you get over, boom, and then you jump off, and then that's it. I'm telling you, you're gonna love it, and Sean Chuma, he'll probably love to take you.
Okay, so I'll make you a deal. 40th birthday.
40th birthday, then you'll do it.
I
okay,
get 3
this
years.
is on camera.
3
Maybe,
years.
Yeah. Maybe your kids are going to use this as like blackmail.
Yeah.
Like, they're going to be like, Mom, you said you were going to jump.
It could totally happen. They just got cell phones too, and so they're going to see this.
Yes.
It's going to happen. And they're going to be like, oh, we're counting down the days.
Yeah.
When I turn
bookmark this.
14,
Yep.
we're doing this. So, yeah, perfectly good bridge. And I so admire the people that jump off of it. There was a bunch of jumpers today.
Oh, really?
In the morning when I was crossing over, because I live in Twin, there was a whole group watching. And then right as I came back over to meet you, there was a guy full on up there, just poof.
Bye.
And imagine if you didn't live here and you're just driving down the bridge like, oh my God.
Yeah.
It's like, no, that's normal. Don't worry about that.
Normal.
They'll be fine.
Have you seen the one where they're jumping off the
the truck?
The truck.
Oh, yeah. Miles Dasher. He's nuts.
Yeah.
And I love it.
Yeah, he's got a paramotor as well, too. Him and Sean Chuma as well. I was like, I want to do that. You look at their life and then you're like, that looks fun,
Oh, well, and the life expectancy.
Yeah, well, it's like
it's a lot different.
They would argue back saying, we're doing it the safe. They're always, it's so interesting kind of seeing how they're not doing it like recklessly. They're calculating everything.
They are.
They're
full on scientists.
Yeah.
I mean, you're basically a physicist.
Yeah.
Is that the right word? Yeah, that is. So, I mean, because they're having to calculate wind ratios, speed, anything that's environmental that may change.
Yeah. And they also probably go off of their feelings too. If they don't feel like it's like the right time.
You got to trust your intuition.
Yeah, if they're like, oh, something feels off, they'll just bail.
Nope, not doing it.
Exactly. So it's so interesting, and I love that Twin Falls is like the prime location for.
Well, we're the only bridge in the U.S., the second in North America. The other one's in Mexico that you can jump off the bridge 365 days a year without a permit.
Yeah.
So we're like the Mecca.
Yeah.
Which is like. So when all these Californians are moving here, it's like, come on, guys, it's pretty cool here. And yeah, we don't like a lot of rules.
Stop telling people stuff.
Well, if you come, just expect. So this is the thing that we see because we do deliver to so many locations. People expect the same resources that, LA has and, public transit everywhere. Yeah, sorry, we're a little bit behind the ball there, but
we don't have that yet. We're working on it.
We are working on it. And we probably should have had it about 10 or 50,000 people ago, but it'll be here when it is.
Yeah.
I just wish people were a little bit better with bicycles and pedestrians.
Oh yeah. The Twin is not a great city to kind of be like riding a bike around. Like you get on the trails and that's it. You know?
The trails are incredible though. So that's the good news. But okay, I'll circle back to the history.
We keep going. We keep going off of tangents.
That's kind of me. If you're around me much, I am very good at talking about anything.
At least a lot of people that I talk to, they forget about what they were originally talking about, and then
I'm pretty good. I can usually circle back. If I'm lacking a little more sleep, then I'm terrible. But okay, so I graduate. I go to Portland. The economy falls out from under itself. Dewey graduates, I think, the next year. He went and worked. His degree is in business and finance.
What were you doing in Portland?
Oh, so I took like the soul-sucking job, at least for me. I'm not built for this. This is a wonderful industry, but I actually took a job with Northwestern Mutual to sell life and health insurance.
Oh, yeah, I can see how that'll suck your life.
I couldn't buy my own product.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like if you
I can sell a patch of grass in the desert, but if I can't buy said patch of grass, I'm not going to sell it.
Yeah, I think we really need to love the product.
You do.
To be able to sell it.
Or believe in it,
or believe in it, yeah.
And honestly, then I was like, I can't do this. So I actually took a job as a dog walker.
Oh, okay.
For, typical lesbian in Portland. That's par for the course all day. She ended up firing me to make room for Italian love slave.
What?
Fired me over beers. This is totally a Portland story.
Maybe just tell me a little highlights of that story.
She went to Italy for a month, met a 20-year-old.
Okay.
And wanted to make room, so found a reason to fire me.
Okay.
Over beers.
Over beers.
That's
not a good way of firing somebody.
Well, it just tells you where the motivation was. It truly probably wasn't with the job performance. It was probably truly with how do I find a way to employ this girl that I want around me on the daily? Because, the joke of lesbians bring their U-Haul to the first date, it's just kind of one of those things. Have you heard this?
No, I've never heard of this.
Okay. And I'm very pro LGBTQ. Yeah. So, and, related to several, and, it's part of my friend group. And, I think this younger generation just doesn't believe in the separation of, that community and everybody else, right?
Yeah.
And there's the joke that lesbians always bring a U-Haul with all their stuff to the first date because they're going to fall in love and move in immediately.
Oh, okay. I've never heard of this.
Well, if you watch the timeline with relationships in their part of the community, it tracks pretty solidly. And then there's the ones that are super level, and that's not the case.
Gotcha.
I always refer to the U-Haul with that one because I'm just like, God, she must have just brought the U-Haul from Italy. That's what happened. So I actually went back to the company I worked for in college and was working for a hotel.
Oh, okay.
Just our front desk doing sales. And then I finally just hit a point where I was like, I don't want to, and the rent was ridiculously expensive. I mean, compared to now, probably completely different conversation. It's probably doubled since I lived there.
Triple.
Possibly. I mean, I had a studio in inner Southeast for probably $950.
Wow. Yeah, that back then.
Yeah. So it was expensive back then. And so my parents.
$3,000 now.
Oh, yeah. And my parents were helping me out. I love living there. I had good friends there, but it just didn't make sense. And so I called them and said, Mom, Dad, how do you feel about a talk?
Yeah.
I need to probably move home because this doesn't make a lot of sense. And so we had a rule. You could live at the house after college for 1 year. You could break it up. You could do it all at once. Didn't matter. I still have 4 months on reserve should I ever need it. My brother might have used them in my stead because he used to come back in the spring, work for the spring, and then travel all fall and then work for the U.S. snowboard team. He retired.
He seems like he figured it out.
Yeah, he retired ski team when he graduated college. He was one of the fastest men in college in GS skiing when he graduated. I want to say like 6th in the nation. Stupid fast. And he ended up taking a job to help out with the X Games with the border cross team. So Wax Room and Ketchum. Curtis Baca, who owns that. He's the tech for Lindsay Jacobellis, who just won one of the gold medals. And was it gold? She might have won gold. I don't remember. Yeah. In Beijing. Okay, yeah. And then he did Seth Westcott. And so Curtis called Dewey and said, hey, I need another tech for X Games. And so Dewey went over and worked for a winner. And then he was like, this isn't that bad of a gig. And so he actually took a job with the B team of the U.S. snowboard team. And so he worked with the border cross team, did a whole Olympic cycle. So did Sochi, had one of his athletes podium, third. I think he got bronze, was Nate. And then the year after that, so the ski team will half their budget after this Olympic. It's just like par for the course. That's what happens. And so Dewey had 4 years of experience at that point. And so he's like, I don't think you can pay me enough. He went and did one Olympic cycle, or actually just one season with the Australian team after that. And then we lost a key person at the greenhouse. And so Dewey was just working part-time. So he'd work seasonally. He worked for the spring. And I came back here in 2009, worked at Jakers, being a trainer and one of the not managers, but I was training. And then Jake had talked to me about possibly going down into an Elko location he was looking at, and that just wasn't really panning out. And then there was an opportunity. Elevation 486 was coming to town. And so I actually took the job there as a catering manager. Ended up in the first month, they were like, we need an assistant GM. That's what you should be. So I was the second person hired, opened the restaurant, worked there for a year. Had a moment where I learned what my integrity meant to me. And so I said, you know what? I am not meant to be here. I'm going to go.
It's kind of like I'm in the wrong movie. You know? Yeah, I'm in the wrong movie. So basically it's kind of like you're like, I need to be in this other movie.
Correct.
So.
restaurant, I commend, and I think everybody should work in the restaurant field. At one point,
it's a character development.
Oh my gosh!
Probably.
And you have so much more respect for what a hard job that can be. And God, after the pandemic, I can't even imagine. I'm so grateful I'm not in it. But you love the people. You can do that work anywhere, so it's a great skill set to have. And then you know what work goes into it. But I truly hit a point where it was like, this is not who I am. I'm in the wrong movie. I love that reference. Yeah, that's a good one.
That's a good one. I feel like
you're to borrow that.
Yeah, you're gonna be like, I'm in the wrong movie.
I'm in the wrong movie right now. Oh God, get me out of here.
Yes. Yeah, I heard that somewhere. I'm like, I'm gonna totally use this somewhere, and this is it right now.
This is yes. So I was in the wrong movie, and I my mom. So I came back to the company in January of 2012. So I've been there officially 10 years. I'm on my 11th season, and. So you grow up working at the greenhouse. I mean, I could tell you stories. I was fired twice before I was 12 in retail by a retail manager. I was probably being a turd, so it's totally acceptable.
Yeah.
And I remember I worked at Jakers in high school, and my mom, first day after I graduated high school, comes in at 6:30, and she's like, "You're expected to work at 7. Get up."
Yeah, you're like,
I was like, oh, and I just quit my job because somebody had stole money at work on like Easter weekend. And I was like, I am done.
Yeah.
Right. Just had one of those moments where I was like, no, not doing it. And, I ended up being the runner in our order processing department that summer, got really tan, got my butt kicked, like I've done
what does a runner do?
So back then we had, wholesale orders, we are shipping all over, right? So Sunday through Friday, we pull orders and ship them. We're one of the only growers now, and there's probably a couple more back then, that does a 48-hour turnaround. So if you call on a Wednesday, I deliver on a Friday.
Oh, okay.
And not very many growers that fast. And now a lot of them, especially with the pandemic, have gone to a week turnaround. Plants change a lot in a week, especially during the season. Pardon me. Tickle. Tickle. And so I ended up coming back. My mom went through a job description and said, what do I not want to do? And she was doing the commercials at that point. She hated it. That's just not her gig. And she put me in as assistant manager of retail. I slowly phased into the wholesale department and just kind of grew as we went. In 2014, we purchased Plantscaping, which was an interior scaping company, and had a plant lady that came with it, and ended up selling that company when she announced retirement in the middle of the pandemic. It was fall of 2020.
Does that sound like somebody that goes around to businesses and has
takes care of the plants?
Okay. Yeah, I didn't know that was even a thing. I remember the first time I saw somebody.
It's a very professional gig.
I remember at the visitor center, we had somebody come in and was like, who are these people? What's going on here?
That was Plantscaping for a bit, and now it's Biome, a company out of Boise that did the hospital up there. We were doing the hospital here. It was a good fit.
Yeah.
And it's been kind of a roller coaster. Not gonna lie. There's always
running a business is a roller coaster. It's there's always ups and downs. Things are changing daily. And
we've made pretty tremendous growth. Let's go back to Kings. All right. So let me give you a profile. So Kings was.
Well, wait a second. You left me hanging. You're coming back at you came back.
I came back in 2012.
Then and then you had all these jobs, and then you're getting back into the.
Correct. So we kind of always. How did my brother say it? I like people less and less. Now, if you met my brother, he's very personable, very friendly guy. And I'm definitely the extrovert of the two of us. Everybody thinks he's the older one because he's a little quieter and more reserved.
Yeah.
He comes off more mature than I do.
Oh, okay.
I just keep telling him I'm a bull in a china shop and deal with it.
Gotcha.
So my brother probably came back to the company in 2010, 2011.
Okay.
And he did retail, he did wholesale, transitioned to order processing and facilities as I came into wholesale because we just didn't need all of us. And so there was a gap out there. So we had lost somebody. So he ended up going and running order processing which is, you know, that wholesale piece of pulling the orders, putting the orders together, and shipping the orders.
Gotcha.
And since we have all our own trucks, that's kind of its own Tetris puzzle every single day.
Gotcha.
And then I think it was, so the year after Sochi, Sochi was 2014?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that'd be right, because it's every 4 years with the Winter Olympic. So in 15, he did the Australian team and then became full-time, like year-round full-time in 2016. And I came in full-time year-round right out of the gate. I think the hardest thing for me was I came from the restaurant industry where the steaks on the table, you have to make a decision. The customer's pissed.
Yeah.
You know, fixing it right then, right? Fix.
I said medium. This is well done. Fix it.
I'm a rare steak girl, so totally get it. And very few chefs can get, and the ones who do, oh my God, you're going back. If they can get a rare steak right, it's amazing. So when I first came into the business, I'd see things and I'm like, God, why are we doing it this way? And they're like, oh, we don't talk about that for 10 months. Like, that's a stupid answer.
Yeah.
But that's the cycle of, you know, the life cycle of a plant. And so really that first couple of years, it was just that, you know, you just want to wiggle.
Yeah.
Like, what's that? Why are we doing it this way? And well, we've always done it this way. That is a cruddy response. When I could finally shake that out of my well, it wasn't really my parents. It was more of our older mid-management. When we finally shook that, oh man, it's like you took the blinders off the horse and took the guards off.
Yeah, it's like, I gotta run.
Yeah, I can actually do something. So that's kind of where it started to transition. In 2016, 2017, we started to talk about ownership with mom and dad.
Yeah.
Dad needed to see us invested, like mentally, physically there. So what I would call blood, sweat, equity.
Yeah.
He needed to say see that we were 100% in. And so we're just, you know, chugging along, doing pretty well. February. Okay, so January of 2017, we decide we're going to launch a houseplant program. We already had the plantscaping business at the time, and so she needed plants. Her supplier had quit in the spring the year before, but we were, you know, neck deep in bedding plant season. So it was like, we'll deal with it later. We'll come back around. So we actually, the fall of 16, myself, our head grower, Lacey, and two of our plug growers got in the car, or got in my dad's truck, took his Harley trailer with us, and we drove down to Carlsbad, California, to the American Hort Plug and Cutting Conference. And I had gone to the one in Orlando 2 years before that with head grower. And at that time I was our seeder in the winter. So I seeded all the plants we grow.
They have conferences.
Oh, full on.
Oh, yeah. See, I never knew this.
Like,
You're like, what?
A whole bunch of plant geeks in a room. My gosh.
I guess there's a market for everything, you know?
Yeah, I could say, like, these conferences are wild too.
Yeah, and
plant landscape people.
This is where all plant lovers and plant moms. Well,
and it's kind of an edgy crowd. I always like, if we're trying to get people at the greenhouse, I'm like, you know, you can come to the conference in Boise. The landscape boys are not bad to look at.
Yeah, there you go.
We just always would joke about it. But we drive down to Carlsbad, and when I had been in Orlando 2 years before that at the plug and cutting that they'd had there, you know, I understood all the classes and the seminars and, you know, kind of following my dad's footsteps that way. I was like, okay, this makes sense. I sit down in one of these Carlsbad ones, and it was like a 600 level university class. And I was like, okay, have 3 growers here. I don't need to sit in this. This is not a good use of time.
Yeah.
So I kind of, you know, made a decision, called my parents, and it was like, I'm going to go look for houseplant growers. So, you know, get on the Google. I had 2 other contacts, called them and said, hey, do you have time this afternoon? I'm in town. I want to come by the facility. So I went and toured a bunch, found a broker while I was down there that I could ship through to bring houseplants up. So they finished the conference. We got the trailer reconnected to the truck, filled it with plants, and drove back to Idaho.
Yeah.
And that's how we started houseplants.
Oh.
Like, we filled a Harley trailer with houseplants in boxes.
That's awesome.
And then that winter, I contacted the broker, and we started to buy, you know, 5 foot of the semi and 10 foot of the semi. And now we bring in full trucks only. And so 53 feet of a semi full of houseplants. and they all come out of California. So that broker, he actually works with 150 different growers in that area. And I sent him a list and he takes care of it. And so any plants you see in Vegas or, most of California, that all comes from my guy, Tim. He's awesome.
Tim. Nice.
Tim takes care of it. And so I was in the middle of building that program in January. Well, we get this call from Tom Kings. At that point, we were supplying 26 stores. And
like just locally or just Southern Idaho?
So Utah, Oregon. Utah, Oregon, Idaho, and into Wyoming just barely.
Yeah.
And February 16th at 2 p.m., not that I remember exactly when it happened, Tom King walked in and said, so it was him and his siblings owned it, and they were all older than him, and Tom was in his 70s, and he just said, they outvoted me, and they want their money, and they want to liquidate.
Oh, no.
And so, and you know what? Those are decisions that are, made in a closed room with the doors, locked. Yeah. So I get it. Coming from a family business, I mean, we're fortunate. We all like each other at the end of the day. Mm-hmm. And that's pretty hard when you're working together every day.
You get to see your family every day.
You have moments where you have to walk away, and that's totally acceptable. But, watching other companies, we're really lucky. We're definitely an anomaly. Mm-hmm. And I've heard lately we're kind of intimidating. Which, all of us are like, really? Huh?
Yeah, it's kind of funny because so I'm Bosnian, and I don't know if like when you hear a group of Bosnian talking to each other, it seems like they're all yelling at each other.
100%.
And then it's like, are they mad at each other?
No, that's just how they communicate.
Exactly. Yeah,
that's just how they communicate.
Yeah.
Well, so Tom told us that, and he said, hopefully I'm telling you soon enough. And my dad draws this picture out, and he's like, if this is the plow in the field, it's 70% through the field. No, you didn't tell me soon enough. But they were kind enough and gracious enough to kind of go into all these small communities because, Twin and Jerome weren't big towns when Kings came in. And I mean, Jerome's still not a big town. And all these little towns like Shelley and, Salmon, Idaho and John Day, Oregon and Delta, Utah, these teeny little towns, that was the store. Mm-hmm. So, and they had perfected putting up a pop-up greenhouse in the parking lot, and they bought the whole menu. Oh. They had all their stuff. They had ad drivers. We had contracts built with them. We really had trained, all their managers would come in every spring. We'd train everybody on how to order, how do you water, how do you merchandise. I mean, it was a full service thing that we provided for them. So
it's like you guys were almost like providing like a business at a business.
Everything. And so Kings was gracious enough that they actually shared that who they were working with to sell the property or the store to. Mm-hmm. They said, here's the greenhouse numbers. You should do this. Mm-hmm. I mean, this is solid. And Moss is our supplier. This is what we get from them. And they were really helpful in that. The good news was we were able to recapture almost 90% of the business in that year, which was apparently that's a pretty big deal because
that's good.
It was exhausting. And it took us a couple years to really come out of it. Mm-hmm. And ironically, COVID was the best thing that could have ever happened to us because
really, yeah. Why do you say that, or how?
Well, so I'm going to say it for the sake of the industry. Mm-hmm. I mean, yeah, Moss Greenhouse is sure and fine, wonderful, but truly, it was worldwide. Mm-hmm. So there is no marketing or promotional machine that could have created what COVID did for horticulture, right? So horticulture is technically my industry segment, right? And every person who got quarantined, locked in their house, trying to homeschool, not murder their sibling, parent, significant other, in-law, you name it.
Yeah. It was rough getting, it was tough. Because like, you're like, I'm sick and tired of these people. I need to go and do something.
You had two sides to it. So you had everybody locked in their house, right? Mm-hmm. They can't go anywhere, can't see anybody.
Yeah.
And then you had, the essential workers, and I'm going to pick on us just because we were defined as essential. And I will state this, we had nothing compared to the healthcare workers and the police and so I'm not
really
discrediting them at all. They had a much harder gig than we did, but frankly, we got our ass kicked. Like, we never closed our doors. We worked really, really heavily with the governor's office and the ISDA's office and American Hort on the national level, the legislature there, because we wanted to make sure that our customers, our wholesale customers, were taken care of because it was in the middle of our season and we've got perishable product.
Yeah.
And there for March of 2020, it was like, crap, what's going to happen?
Yeah.
Like, this is insane. What am I going to do with all this product? And there was entire like plant floors, like these huge flower markets in these bigger cities like Philadelphia and New York and stuff, that there's just plants just laying there dying because nobody was open. And thankfully we were able to keep all of our customers open, give them the documentation they needed for every Tom, Dick, and Harry who wanted to rat them out for being open.
Okay. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. I mean, there's somebody in Pocatello was after one of my customers. Then I was like, here's this document. Here's the thing from the governor.
There you go.
And I was also involved with the Idaho Nurseryman and Landscape Association as their vice president at the time of their board. And so we were, the president at the time was Erin Money, who owns Edward. She's a fourth generation, younger person like myself. And between Erin and I and our executive director, Ann Bates at the time, we were, neck deep.
Yeah, I thought COVID was going to only last maybe like a week, and then we were going to move on to the next story.
Year 2. Or I should say, we've just covered year 2.
Yeah.
Oh, but so the interesting thing that happened, Blaine County locks down, right? So they have Allen and Company. No, it wasn't Allen and Company. It was Tony Robbins and his group.
Tony Robbins?
So this is the story I got,
I had something to tell you about Tony Robbins. Have you ever been to one of his conventions?
I haven't. I want to.
Oh my God.
He's incredible.
I can tell you this. You jump around and then you feel great because everybody's jumping around. But
I follow Brennan Burchard really closely and he does some of those conferences as well. And he advises the Tony Robbins of the world.
Really?
He's pretty incredible.
My God, imagine having Tony Robbins here. That would be so amazing.
And telling him what to do. Like, you're not taking care of yourself. You need to be doing this. Have you leveled up? Who are you influencing today?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. That'd be hilarious. So I guess this is the story I heard from some local Ketchum folks is Tony Robbins and a whole bunch of people with him came in from big cities, and that's how Ketchum got it.
Ooh.
That there was this big party down at the base of the mountain and everybody was at it, and it had to be all those out of towners.
Everybody's got a story. I heard what's it called? Tom Hanks. He's
a nice guy.
He was here, and then he got it, and that got like on the news and stuff like that. And I was like, oh boy,
Eventually, it'll kind of be just treated like the flu, like everything else.
Yeah.
I mean, it sucks to make that reference.
Yeah.
But you always know more hindsight, right? So everyone's like, oh, maybe we shouldn't have locked everybody up and put a mask on them.
Yeah.
Oh, you think?
Yeah.
Oh, herd immunity is actually a thing. That's solid science. But
well, it's so interesting even with the war stuff now. It's like I'm not hearing too much stuff about COVID. It's like we're done with that.
You didn't hear about Deltacron?
No, we're done.
I started laughing so hard. I was like, oh, so it's Deltacron. Oh, okay, I'm going to just go back to doing what I was doing.
Yep.
We actually had pansies. We have a BSU mix, which just grinds my gears every time I see it because I'm a vandal, but black and yellow don't sell as well as orange and blue. And that's okay. I mean, go Idaho schools. That's what I will say that. Go Idaho schools. And, good for them. They figured it out. It's supposed to be blue and orange. Well, it's blooming blue and yellow. So I'm on Facebook Live going, we have blue and yellow pansies. They're supposed to be blue and orange. I wonder what we should call that. Do you guys know of any teams like that we can make the reference to? And I went and looked at the comments like an hour later and they're like, hello, Ukraine.
No.
Like, oh, duh.
There you go.
We have Ukraine pansies out at the greenhouse by accident, but hey, we'll take it as a win.
Yeah.
So COVID ended up being something really positive because people were stuck at home. They couldn't travel anywhere. Maybe they didn't have the money to, or they were just stuck. Or people didn't want anyone to go anywhere, or nobody would let them go anywhere.
Yeah.
And truly what ended up happening is everyone goes, gosh, my patio looks kind of shabby. Maybe I should do that flower garden I've been thinking of. And you go to Lowe's on the weekend and it's like, dear God, I'm going to get COVID just looking at it.
Yeah.
And they were packed. And so in turn, we were packed. I mean, we even tried to do curbside pickup. For April.
There are a lot of
totally
people were doing
tried
that.
it. And we tried delivering, and we had this awesome lady that works for us, Granny B is what we call her. Her name tag actually says Granny B.
Granny B.
And she
shout
does
out to Granny B.
Oh yeah, totally. And she does all of our little kid tours. She tells them about how God makes the flowers, and that when they're big kids, they can work at moss greenhouses. Oh, don't drink the blue water, you'll grow leaves. And she would get on the phone. So we had this form on the website and said, "What are you interested in?" And it just kind of had them categorized. You couldn't just go in. I couldn't create like an e-commerce overnight. Just was not going to happen.
Yeah. I tried doing a tutorial to show people, this is how you do it. And we were trying to like show people how to do like a curbside pickup stuff. But it was so technical.
It's so technical. So thankfully, I have an amazing website gal. And so I went to Melissa Peace, who does the Next Level Solutions. Shout out to her, because that woman is a force of nature. So I went to Melissa and I was like, I got to figure this out. How the hell do we do this? And she goes, all right, let's put together a form. What could you do? And so kind of went through it and said, okay, hanging baskets, vegetables, houseplants, containers, and just kind of mapped it out and said, what are you interested in? What do you want to spend? Here's what, we think's available. How do we get a hold of you? And then when you come by? And so Ladine would spend like 2 hours per person per order. Oh, really? And we weren't charging anything extra. We're still open. Still having massive traffic. And Blaine County has decided we're essential, even though they were supposed to be on lockdown, because we're on the way to Costco. So God forbid. So we're just getting our butts handed to us. And for every 10 people that came to do a curbside pickup, 9 of them still would come in the store.
Oh, okay.
And so I was like, okay.
It's like...
all right. So May's nuts for us, right? So, because May is the gardening month, especially for Southern Idaho. So May 1st, my retail manager and I looked at each other and she's like, I don't want to. I was like, I don't want you to. We're all too tired. We're done. And so we pulled the plug on it. I was like, nope, we're done. We can't do this and this, because she was having record selling days.
Yeah.
And it was like every single garden center we've talked to that opened. I mean, there was a couple that never opened, did it all online, that they didn't meet the numbers, but every single one of our customers that did open or was open mostly or opened by May or whatever, found a hybrid, record-setting numbers.
Wow, yeah.
And this was countrywide.
Even tourism was up for us.
Oh, yeah.
For Visit Southern Idaho, it was numbers. Everybody became like a hiker, overnight as well, because at least they had room to kind of go around and stuff like that.
It was the only thing you could do.
And you didn't want to be locked up in a house or so forth. So people are like, I'm going on this trail. At least there's space that you can kind of, people can spread around or so forth.
Well, and this would be my advice to anybody from California. I'll pick on California. You have a big state. There's just a lot of you. It just makes you a really easy target. It's not personal.
Yeah.
I could say insert Texas, Colorado, Canada. I don't care.
Yeah.
Say hi to people on the trail. People aren't out for you.
Yeah.
If they say hi and wave, just say hi and wave back or do a nod. That's the thing that we've noticed. They're just not as friendly. And Idaho is known to be friendly.
Yeah, I think it's because like the environment that they're grown up at.
And COVID. So they're just, do you say anything? Do you not say anything? Yeah. Like I always smiles, highs. Yeah. I mean, you're still driving down the road and the farmer waves at you as you drives by you.
Yeah.
Like that's still Idaho.
They're like waving at you.
And you're like, I have no idea who that person was.
Yeah, exactly. Do I know that guy?
Not a chance. Nope.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. That's the advice I would give to out-of-towners. Like, Idaho's friendly.
And if you're
if
you're gonna live here, change your license plate immediately.
Have you seen people like write in the dirt and they're like, it's a rental?
It's a rental. Yeah.
I've ended up with a rental and been like, oh, those are California plates.
No.
Yeah. It's I'm not a hater. I care less. It's great because here's the cool thing that's actually going to bring us. It's going to bring us more tax dollars. We might eventually get another vote in a Congress room somewhere. Maybe if we're lucky. Census should do that for us to a certain degree. It'll bring you public transportation faster, and they're going to bring culture.
Yeah.
They're going to bring different restaurants. They're going to bring different businesses. The thing they're not bringing that I think everybody's feeling is more employees, because everybody's coming with a job already.
Yeah.
So I think that that's probably the hardest thing. Labor is very challenging right now.
Well, it seemed like after COVID started dying down, it was like, then nobody was like, nah, I'm not working. No, it's like there was like that mass exodus, or everybody was quitting or just not doing a job.
Yeah, the what do they call it?
Recession or mass
resistance, resignation.
Yeah,
it's the resignation. I've been watching this on the Today shows in the mornings, and the mass resignation, and they're telling companies not to look so much at what you're paying them, but what's the quality of life? They didn't call it work-life balanced. They called it kind of like work-life equilibrium.
Yeah.
And to be passionate about what you're doing. Gosh, if I didn't run a business already, you could reinvent yourself and be anything right now.
Yeah, you can. It's
That's
like
so freaking cool.
Yes.
My God, what would I be? I have no idea.
Yeah.
I might like work at Cliff Bar. Those people are awesome.
Yeah. You could. But the COVID gave people kind of like a fresh new start, because they realized like I could work from home, and then that opened them up to a whole new level.
It's amazing. And I know that there's that balance of how do I reintegrate? There's people that are still worried about it, COVID, and then there's the people that are like, it doesn't exist. I don't care. I'm doing all the things.
Yeah.
And I think as long as you stay in your lane, you don't push your values on somebody else. Who cares?
Exactly. Well said on that. Is there anything else that we missed in the history-wise that you think is important?
So I would say right now, Dewey and I we are 35% employee-owned.
Okay.
So that is our version of a retirement program for our employees. And, folks that have been working for us for 10, 15 years, the thing about Moss, the people that work for us, they love it and they get committed to it. I'm not going to sit here and say it's just a cushy job, because you get your butt kicked on a regular day. Like on an easy day, sometimes you just get home and you're like, oh my God, what happened?
Yeah.
I feel like I got ran over, because it's hard work. It's ag. I'm not going to sit here, but you'll be in shape. You'll be tan. You're going to be tired. You'll be able to sleep at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Unless you're me and you're doing paperwork in your sleep. That's when I know I'm like, oh God, I'm pulling orders in my sleep. This is not good. But truly, it's kind of a feel-good job. You get to be around cool plants all day. You get to be exposed to the outside. You get fresh air. It's water, sunscreen. That's something we preach at one point. During the really hard days, I make sure that there's pizza, or we're having a barbecue, or, if it's hot, I'll go grab popsicles. Food seems to be an amazing motivator for our crew.
I got popsicles.
Yeah. Oh God. They're like, where's she at? I end up being the food fairy occasionally. Food is my love language, is what I just tell my staff. I was like, this is my way of thanking you. And we do have a lot of people in our retail that they only work there for the discount. Like, when payday comes around, they just write us a check.
Oh, really? Yeah, like you're reinvesting in the company.
They get wholesale price on plants. So if you're a plant person, and you get them for basically half a retail.
Wow.
So
that's a sweet,
cool.
yeah.
It's a cool deal.
Especially, I feel like all of your employees probably all love plants, and
it
helps.
helps.
Is this how you vet them? Like, you come to their house, you're like, how many plants do you have at your house? Is that the determination?
Well, it depends on which department. Some departments, I'm like, do you have a pulse? Will you show up?
Yeah.
Because, sometimes it's just hard to find bodies. But if you're selling it, I need you to like it, or have the want to learn. It probably took me 3 or 4 seasons to just get my head around like everything we grow.
Yeah.
And I've slowly learned, and because I'm choosing what we grow, I've learned a lot faster. But so we were fortunate enough to absorb one of the King's managers.
Oh, okay.
Travis, he's in our wholesale department. He worked for King's for 17 years, ran like 10 different stores of theirs. And, he's really familiar with our products, but he came on and he was just like, holy crap.
There's a lot of stuff.
This is a lot of stuff.
Yeah. Well, let me ask
How
you this.
do I do this?
Yeah. Let me ask you this question. Like, where do people typically order? Okay. Like, do they go to the website or how does?
So in store, truly. Okay, so two different conversations. So retail, come to the store.
Okay, so if you're just like a regular person like me or so forth, you just go to the store, and then it's like, look at all these flowers.
And the way that I describe our retail, truly, it's an experience. So I think it was Paco Underhill wrote The Experience Economy. He might have wrote What Women Want. It's one of those marketing books you hear about at one of those conferences I go to. But he wrote The Experience Economy. It's an incredible book for any entrepreneur or business owner. I recommend that book heavily.
What is it called again?
It's called The Experience Economy. And the idea is you can buy a teddy bear or you can go to Build-A-Bear.
Oh, yeah.
And have an experience. They talk about this hotel in, I want to say it's in New York. It might be Minneapolis. I'm not sure. But it's based on the Dewey Decimal System. So every single hotel room is that topic of that number in the Dewey Decimal System.
Okay.
And so you never stay in the same room twice. And so that idea of an experience. And so when you come to Moss Greenhouses, it's an experience. You can always tell somebody's face if they've never been there because they walk in and they're like, wow. I mean, it's just this like, you could just sit at the registers and watch it. I mean, it's hands down.
Somebody's got an interesting job just watching people. Like,
it is hilarious.
Here's another one just being amazed.
And then taking the other book I was mentioning, What Women Want, Judy Sharpton, she is a independent garden center consultant, and she always talks about plant Vista bubblegum petunias along the road at your garden center so that people's cars turn themselves. And then she said, make a racetrack, make sure your bathrooms are always clean, and have a place for kids to play. And so we have a sandbox in retail. And so that we can keep your kids busy while you spend more money.
That's good, yeah.
Naturally. And now it's funny because the kids actually train their parents to come out. They're like, I want to go out and play at the sandbox at that one place with the plants,
Nice. Yeah.
And so we've kind of, and it's funny, I run into friends from high school and they're like, yeah, my daughter is just making me go spend money with you again.
Yeah, it's like, once be it.
Perfect. It's working.
Yes.
So we want to make it comfortable. And so truly that's what we've brought to it. We want you to have fun when you come out. And we ultimately, all of our marketing, I don't ever market to our current customer. And I know any marketing professional will be like, oh my God.
Yeah. I feel like you probably feel like you already have them.
Well, so that's exactly it. So we're always focusing our marketing at the next gardener. And the reason is, grandma who just downsized from the big house, to the smaller one because it's a little more reasonable. And, you don't want to get on your knees and weed all the time. She's got containers and she's got a nice finished patio.
Yeah.
Well, the new millennial or Gen Z that's trained to learn how to garden, they're going to want something a little bit more dummy proof, a little bit more simple, easy to understand, because ultimately we are fighting for the disposable dollar, the discretionary dollar, the same dollar that's paying for that extra gas tank right now. The one that's swim lessons, camping, vacation, concert tickets, groceries. So if you're going to spend that money, I want you to succeed. And plants are real easy to kill.
Oh yeah. Yeah. That's
solidly. So if I can help you mitigate that risk so that you're spending your money and getting gratification from that process, like check, done it.
Yeah, exactly.
Solved. And then grandma, who may have gardened her whole life, who wants simpler things, can now go, well, gosh, this easy to do kit to plant my own container is pretty snazzy, and I don't have to bend over and weed it.
Nice.
Now I can just put it on a dripper and forget about it, and I can still go on that 2-week cruise with my girlfriends,
Yeah.
So suddenly the generation that's already familiar with the product knows how to do it. It's like, my God, this easier stuff that's simple.
Yeah. This whole dripping thing, I love that idea because
irrigation.
just drip,
Well, and that's, I always have people there, they're like, I have a black thumb, or they're like, oh no, I do really good with my outside plants, but I can't do inside plants. And the question I asked them, I said, do you have kids or pets? And they're like, oh yeah. And it's like, if you can keep kids or pets alive, you can do plants.
That's a good.
That's the best way I can say it.
Yeah.
It's not that scary. it really is not.
So anybody can just come to the retail store itself.
Yeah.
Where exactly is the retail store? If they don't
drive like you're driving north to Ketchum, right? So
Okay,
cross
yeah.
the bridge, keep going straight past 84, past the KOA. And you're
Okay,
going to
yeah, I know.
you're going to pass Magic Valley Electric and go
Yeah.
over the railroad tracks and get in the left lane.
Okay.
Turn there. You'll see a little blue sign on the right that says Moss Greenhouse's Mile and a Quarter. The old barn, Span Bar Barn, but it's now called Mountain View Barns right there.
Yeah, I know where Mountain View Barn is.
So you turn left there. So turn west.
Yes.
I talk in north, south, east, west. I'm
Yeah.
raised by an engineer. So you turn west and you're going to go follow that road. It'll go 1.25 miles. And as it curves up, because it will curve, you're going to see the greenhouse on your left. It's right
Okay.
there. That's the one we have open. We're Monday through Friday, 10 to 5 for March. Once April hits, we go 7 days a week.
Okay.
So 10 to 6 Monday through Friday. I think we're 9 to 5 on Saturday and 10 to 5 on Sunday is what the hours are. But we'll go heavy until we always close for Easter and 4th of July. Everybody wants a holiday, but we're always open for Mother's Day, Memorial Day, Father's Day, that kind of stuff.
Gotcha.
Mother's Day is cream of the crop. That's the thing.
So you guys sell like roses and stuff like that over there? Or?
Actually, I don't do roses. That's ironic that you bring that up.
I was like, I
so
see. The thing is, like, I have not been into this.
I'm a rose hater. Let me explain why. I love to see roses. I just don't want to ever own roses. And it's funny. I bought this house. Brandon and I bought a house April of 2019, and it has. The lady who owned this house believed in evergreens and roses, and I have 70-year-old roses all over, and I've almost got them all dead.
Yeah.
It's an active effort. I've pulled out many, many evergreen bushes. So I grew up in the country, just north of the greenhouse. I actually lived in the parking lot in my great-grandparents' old house until I was 12, and then we built north of the greenhouse on the farm still. So I've always lived right there until I went to college. And every time they'd cut alfalfa, all the aphids would go from the alfalfa to the roses.
Oh.
So they're aphid host plant, and aphids are just a pain in the tush. And so I've never liked roses because of aphids. Now, they're really handy when they're in your front yard and they're 70 years old and you don't like them because they keep all the aphids on the rows and not your petunias. So there's that. So that's
Okay.
why there's still a rose in front of my house. I'm like, it's keeping the bugs off the other stuff. So I'm just going to deal with it.
Yeah.
So one of these days I'm going to get that thing out.
Now I feel like I'll have to for sure stop. I want to have that experience. It's like, whoa.
So you should come out for the business after hours next week.
So when's that?
For the chamber business members, so if you're involved with the Twin Falls Chamber or the Jerome Chamber, we're having our 70th anniversary business after hours Thursday the 24th from 5 to 7.
24th. See, I'll have to put this on my schedule.
Okay,
I'll
so
listen to this.
24th, definitely come to that. That's going to be a pretty cool event. And it gives you an idea of like the reach that the chamber has. We're very involved in the community. I'm a part of the Morning Blue Lakes Rotary Club. Our general manager's on planning and zoning for Jerome.
Oh, okay.
I'm the past president of the Idaho Nourishment and Landscape Association board of directors. I help co-chair Magic Valley Beer Fest. We're just very
you're part
involved.
of the beer fest?
Oh, buddy. Want to talk beer?
Yeah.
I got beer guys that talk beer a lot better than I talk beer.
Yeah, I love that festival. You get
That's a cool
drunk.
one.
It's like, this is great.
We'll have to set up a separate podcast for that, and I'll bring some people and we'll bring some beers.
Yeah,
that's a lot more
I
fun.
wanted to do
an
a
excuse to drink at
beer.
work.
Yeah, I was like, I wanted to do a beer review where I try out all the beers.
Oh,
and
hell
then,
yeah. We could do it. Actually, we could do a whole series.
You could easily do a whole beer
Okay.
review.
We're going to talk about that when we're off camera and off mic. All right.
Yeah.
Groovy. Shane, I'm calling you.
Yeah.
We're going to be doing this. We're going to knock it out.
Yes.
So events for the year. Okay. So we're back to what we're calling normal. Okay.
Yeah.
So April. I do this letter thing where I mix up the months based on the letter they start with. So April 6th, after school. So I think it's like 3:30 to 5 or something like that. We have an Easter basket planting.
Okay.
So it's it's a fun way to get your kids involved without having to buy the soil, buy the plants, buy the pot, buy the eggs, have the bunny, the whole thing. So we actually put somebody in an Easter bunny outfit and you come out, I think it's like $8 or $10 and you plant your own Easter basket and it's very kid oriented. You get to make the mess with us. You get to take a picture with the Easter bunny. If you want to, I have to bribe one of my children with ice cream to make her take pictures with characters because she just doesn't do it. I fought her until she was like 9 or 10 and she finally was like, okay, fine.
I'll do it. Yeah.
Yeah. It was Tinkerbell and there was ice cream bribery. It was a big deal.
Nice.
And so that's happening April 6th. Then we have an event that's very popular. I brought it to the greenhouse when I came from the restaurant to the greenhouse because events was my thing.
Yeah, you wanted to do the whole X game thing.
And it's and I still want to do events.
You're kind of still doing it. Just like
a little bit.
You're like, yeah, this is what I wanted to do. So events.
Exactly. So we do a ladies' night out. And it's always been kind of interesting. I watch other people try to pull it off and we've sold out every year. It's a huge event. It's very coveted. It's the hoity-toities of the valley. It's a kick in the pants. And some years they're mellow. Some years they're real rowdy.
Yeah.
And
sounds like a fun time.
Yeah. So we sell 350 tickets. I give away 50 promotional tickets. And we actually vet vendors. And by vet, I mean women like impulse buying. They want immediate gratification, right? We're females. I want a reward now.
Yes.
So with vendors, we make sure they have to have something they can taste, try, wear, test. It has to be immediate gratification.
Yeah,
it can't be like a Tupperware catalog. Now, no problem with Tupperware. Solid product. I get it. I'm a Pyrex girl now because the Tupperware stains and it's just a pain in the butt.
Yes.
Personal opinion. It's fine. And it's a little more environmentally friendly when I do the Pyrex. So ultimately, I want you to not order out of a catalog. I want you to be able to buy it right then. Now, you sell everything at that. By golly, you did a great job.
Nice.
So we actually took applications till the 1st of March. We've got all of our vendors selected. And then Saran's comes in and does the food. We have 2 no-host bars. We've got an MC.
And where is this?
It's in our retail store. So it's in our half acre. And so there ends up being about 450 people there.
Sounds like a party.
Oh, it's definitely a party. Yeah. I actually had some ladies one year ask me if I could do what they do at Tough Enough to Wear Pink and have the guys and kind of like Chip and Dale. And I was like, this is a PG show. Well, maybe PG-13 depending on the MC. But it's an event. We actually ask all the vendors to give us a door prize. We take people's names at the door. Our general manager is also really into reality TV.
Okay.
And we do a chopped competition. So the first 20 people to sign up. And so he takes the cooking show Chopped, where they have competitions on food, and he turns it into container planting.
Okay.
And so they get a bag, they have a theme, they've got 3 levels of competition. There's the 20, then there's the 10, then there's the 3, and then our staff judges them and they get to take all their planters home. We actually have a planting party in the back where you can pick like a moss high heel or a purse to plant, and you can do an herb or a flower or a house plant. And those are kind of extra costs if you want to do them. We do gift cards for 20% off that night.
Gotcha.
So if you know what, regularly I spend, $20 or $200 or $2,000, whatever it is, you can come buy the gift card for 20% off that night.
Oh, wow. Nice.
And we won't stop you. And then you show up and go to a 20% off sale. Great. You just got your plants for 40% off. I'm not going to tell anybody.
Yeah.
I don't care.
Yeah.
I want you to buy your plants.
Yeah.
I want you to garden. And so that event is huge. Now, I always sell out. I anticipate because we haven't had the event
this
for 2
is a
years.
woman's only thing, right? Like it's just,
technically.
No, technically, some guys still,
if you identify as a female, it's a she/her situation.
I see.
Should I say? Maybe a they them, depending on your version of they them.
Gotcha.
It's pronouns. I was just visiting friends over in Ashland, and I had to get my pronouns down.
Oh,
that was the thing. I was like, okay, they them. So it's definitely a female-oriented event.
A lot of plant
A
ladies.
lot of and these ladies get rowdy. It's
Yeah, I can
it's
imagine.
actually a
I
kick in
would
the
love
pants.
to
I
just-
have so
yeah.
much fun there.
Yeah.
Well, if we can maybe come out and do live podcast or something,
Hey,
or you
that-
do video to
Yeah,
throw together.
Yeah,
or
we'll
something.
see. We'll see.
Something fun. And so we do a photo booth. We give away a ton of plants. I literally just start pillaging the displays, and
Yeah.
grabbing stuff. And
You get a plant.
You watch
You get a
the
plant.
retail girls are just like, oh, you just took what it looks so good. And I'm like, hey, you'll find another. You'll be fine. And so we give away plants all night. We give away stuff from all the vendors all night. There's food. There's bars.
And you said already sold out?
I will sell out. So the tickets will go on sale April 1st.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And so that's a Friday.
So if somebody hears this, they're going to be on their
your
computer.
calendar.
Where
Yes.
do they get these tickets
You
at?
call me or come out.
Oh, okay.
And so if you just call on the phone, we'll just run your card over the phone and we'll mail them straight to your house.
Gotcha.
So we'll save you the trip of coming out. Some years it takes me 10 days to sell that. Some years it takes me 2 hours.
Yeah, they were like, it was
depends.
such a great time. I have to go
You
again.
know, well, and I've been getting calls from people that I don't hear from all year, and they're like, "Stella,
when's
when's
that-
ladies' night?"
Yes.
And the tickets always go on sale on the 1st of April. The only time we change it is if it's like on a Sunday. That's a little screwy. I think one year we did them on the 2nd just because it was a Sunday, but I do anticipate to sell out. We are going to give away a couple sets at the business after hours. We're going to probably do a couple of radio promotions with the family broadcasting, give away a couple sets. We're going to make it fun. It's always a really good idea. I was talking to our insurance company, Hub International. Scott Stanley and Kelly came by today, and she's like, when's the event? I said, mark your calendar for April 1st. And so she's like, I got to go tell the girls in the office. I said, well, what I would do is I would pool your money together and just have one person call, save you guys all the trip.
Gotcha.
And she's like, oh, that's a good idea. So, I mean, people are very organized. I was getting text messages from Lisa Paulos, and she's like, what's the date? Oh, crap. We're in New York. Okay, I'm letting the girls know. They're going to mark their calendars. I'm like, perfect.
Nice.
Couple other things happening. We are going to celebrate 70 years by giving people a 35% discount. So that's half of 70 for the last week of May through the first week of June if you were born in 1952.
Oh, okay.
Kind of funny.
Well,
So
there you go.
if you were born the year that we started,
Somebody's
somebody's like,
nice.
awesome.
Yes.
We also are doing, so we nerded out on this 2 years ago and kind of took it to the next level this year. May the 4th be with you.
Oh, yes.
We're going to do a Star Wars sale. So we're doing 20% off of a very popular item. I'm not going to tell anybody what. If you watched my Facebook Lives in December, you might have seen it.
Must be something really good.
It's something very popular and very fitting. Now, that Wednesday, it's a Wednesday. May the 4th is a Wednesday this year. That's on Mother's Day week.
Okay.
So we'll be stupid busy. Something to note for anybody who hasn't been to Moss, or I'm not going to lie to you. I'm going to tell you, we are probably the most expensive game in town. However, this is what sets us apart. We cold tone our plants for Idaho. So the difference, okay? So you go to, I'll pick on a box store, Walmart, Home Depot, Lowe's, whatever.
Yeah.
And Lowe's has a pretty good grower. I mean, truly they do. Piney does a good job. And a couple of the Utah growers that supply them at this location. And so does Olson's. Olson's takes care of Home Depot and Walmart. But ultimately,
Well,
they're
I feel like people watching this, they have to come shop from you. You know what I mean? Like,
so I'll tell you the tricks. I'll tell you how to save some money. So what sets us apart, and this is what I'm always telling Californians or anybody who's new here. Idaho has unpredictable weather. Like how many times have we had a snowstorm on Memorial Day weekend?
the weather changes.
Oh yeah, it'll snow in June. Like that's not that unusual. Truly, it's not. And we have cold nights and really hot days. We're very high light. We're very low humidity. This is an extreme climate at the end of the day. So what sets us apart is I actually work directly, Moss does, and me directly quite a bit with brokers and breeders to say, they'll be like, man, this is the plant. You got to have this petunia next year. You got to have this impatient. You got to have this geranium, whatever it is. And I'm like, okay, cool. Where was the bred in? You know, where are these pictures from? And they're like, oh, those are from California Pactoras. That's from Texas. That's from Florida. That's from, Maine. That's from Pennsylvania. And I'm like, cool. And they're like, oh, but this is in Michigan. And I said, none of that is like our climate.
Yeah.
And I said, do you have any growing in Salt Lake? And they're like, no. Like, okay, then we can't compare.
Yeah.
We can't, because that's the closest. Really the easiest way for us, there's pack trials, or they call it cast now, down in California, where they actually are testing all the plants before they release them to the market in the pack. We sell it in a greenhouse, right? And then there's the field trials. The field trials are at CSU, Colorado State University, over in Fort Collins. That is really pretty comparable to us because it's a similar elevation, similar climate, and truly it's the most comparable conditions, that in Salt Lake. If you can tell me that it works there, then by golly, we're going to try it.
Yes.
Now, if you tell me it works in the other places, fine, we'll test it. I'm not making any promises.
Gotcha.
And so we actually go to those field trials in Colorado and we go walk it because it's like, okay, what's going to work? And our brokers and breeders work really closely with us on that. And I actually, a couple of years ago, went to all of them and said, I figured if you don't ask, you're in the same spot where you started. And I said, I want to be 2 years ahead of the market. I want to test it 2 years before it hits. And then I want to be growing it by the time you release it.
Gotcha.
And I was able, I'm amazed. They all told me yes.
Nice.
So we've been able to really get ahead on stuff. And then that's also led us into a really fun thing. So you're a part of the digital world. We are working with a YouTube channel. It has a very powerful following. And so how it all started is we supply a location in Ontario, Oregon called Andrews Seed. They're a garden center that also is a non-GMO alfalfa supplier for international. Big deal. Apparently, I'm pretty versed on my GMOs. I'm very pro because I understand the science and the ag behind it. But they actually, the alfalfa market, as they explained to me, kind of got overrun by GMOs, and then it kind of bastardized the genetics because it was so overproduced. So non-GMO alfalfa seed is very highly coveted. And so they're very busy. Well, their daughter married a gentleman who was a videographer.
Yeah.
And they started a YouTube channel. So it's called Garden Answer.
Garden Answer?
Garden Answer. And she's kind of like the new age Martha Stewart minus Snoop Dogg, right? And the ankle bracelet.
Yeah, like that.
Yeah, she's very girl next door, very wholesome. I mean, most of her videos are over 15 minutes, which for YouTube, it's like, oh, really?
Yeah.
The
YouTube algorithm likes long videos.
She kills it. So she's got 1.5 million people on YouTube and like 3.7 million people following her on Facebook.
Wow.
And she works really closely with the Proven Winners brand. And Proven Winners is kind of like a joke in the industry in the sense that it's the dark side because you have to buy into everything them. So like the Apple. Plastic, the plastic, the tags, the trays, the plants, it's fully royaltied. You can't plant it outside of their plastic. Like it's a thing, right?
Yeah.
And so the joke is, you went to the dark side. You're growing PW. It's like, but they're pretty solid genetics. I mean, truly. So the baskets you saw in downtown Twin last year, right?
Yeah.
Those dark pink, light pink, and white, those just balls of beautiful.
Yes.
That's us.
Oh, okay.
And that was all Proven Winners.
Wow.
That's called the Above and Beyond combo.
Yeah. You're making the city prettier.
Oh my God. That was just a stupid lucky mistake.
Yeah.
I said, there was such high exposure on those light poles on Shoshone. And, Main Street's got irrigation to them, but Shoshone has to be hand watered, right? So we work really closely with the chamber who organizes that, with the businesses that purchase that, as well as to Parks and Rec with Wendy and Todd over there.
Oh, you know Wendy?
Oh, yeah. Wendy's awesome.
Yeah.
So Wendy kept getting calls all year last year, and we struggled with the geraniums the year before. I mean, they could have a weekend where somebody just doesn't show up and they don't get watered and they look like crap the rest of the year. So I made this kind of risky decision last winter and was like, you know what? We're going to try petunias. And that's scary because if they get dry, they're going to look really bad.
Yeah.
But I had been down in Salt Lake for a customer meeting the summer before and seen the Above and Beyond petunias at, I think, the Layton Mall, right?
Okay.
And there were these just big, huge balls of petunias in the middle of the heat of July. And I was like, okay, let's see if I can do this. And Jamie Mucko, who owns Windsor's, her and her husband, Ryan, so it's Jamie Windsor Mucko, she had conned me into it. She's like, dude, you should try it. And I was like, oh, this seems so risky. And so I was like, you know what? Screw it. Let's try it. Let's see what happens, because the Vista series of petunias that Proven Winners has is pretty superior genetics if you have the space for it, because it is no dinking around. Like, these are petunias on crack, the next level. And so I remember Wendy came out and I was like, okay, here's the petunia food. Here's the growing protocol. I mean, because any Tom, Dick, or Harry might be picking up the hose to water Shoshone. Now they've got some pretty kind of dedicated plant people on it, which is great. But, prior to that, so we had to kind of write a dummy proof protocol. Hold hose in for 90 seconds while water is on, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Because at a certain point, and people don't realize this with baskets, if something dries down, right? If it's in a container, the soil will start to shrink, right?
Oh, yeah.
So when you go to water it, you think you're watering it down through the soil. The water's just going around the soil ball.
Oh, yeah. I never thought about that.
No, it's like, these are all those things where people are like, I left for a weekend and everything died. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to need a bit more information than that to be able to help you. So we tried to dummy proof it, and we made sure that they had petunia food, because petunias are greedy. They're hungry. They need lots of things. So we set them up with petunia food. We set them up with a fertilizer schedule, and my God, it worked. So they will look the same this year, and we're actually have a ton of pots that we planted that we're going to sell, that are going to be big and beautiful way before the city ones even hang, because we always hang them kind of the last week of May, right before Western Days. And that's been really popular. I remember I was at, I think it was Beer Fest. It was at Beer Fest, maybe. Doug Vollmer tracks me down and he's, Jennifer, what is in those baskets right there? I'm like, oh, Doug, that's fuchsia, bubblegum, and silverberry, Vista petunia. Well, I'm going to be out there in April or May, and I need those.
Nice.
Deal, Doug. Got you handled.
Nice.
Not a problem. So we're trying to, we dummy proof that. So what else could we dummy proof? So really our goal this year is to teach people how to garden, demystify, mitigate the risk, help them get to a point where they feel comfortable spending disposable income.
Yeah.
And with gas prices, you're not going to want to drive very far anyway.
Yeah, you're going to be wanting to grow your plants.
Oh my gosh. I'm talking to one of my growers today, and he's like, I'm spending $600 a month to get over here. It was $450 before, $500. And I'm like, oh my God. So it's just, we're going to have to navigate this. The thing we are seeing happen, though, because COVID does have a very large effect on my industry as well. So does cannabis. Weed's a thing everywhere but Idaho, and they need the same things we do. So sometimes they can get ahead of us and buy all the soil out, or companies who are supplying our industry, it's not a sustainable business model, unfortunately, because the bubble will pop. And it's starting to, depending on what state you're in. And entire companies have shifted their business to cannabis, and I don't know if they're going to be able to shift back and survive it. I don't know. We were talking about this with our soil company the other day. It was like, our soil scientist that we worked with, he went to the cannabis division, and we got a new guy. The new guy's great. Not a problem. Jeff's a good guy. But he's like, I don't know why everybody's going so hard. Like, this is going to burst.
Yeah, I was at a TEDx talk, and there's a soil guy, and he was the soil gets used up, the nutrients or so forth. I didn't know that was a thing.
Oh, yeah. So soil, well, yeah, there's some serious science to soil, and soil is kind of the life, but it's like the foundation of a house.
Yeah.
You have to have it. And if your soil's crap, your plants are crap. I mean, it is that simple. And in Southern Idaho, we have a pH issue. So I was in Michigan last summer touring 3 of the Proven Winner suppliers after the big conference that's in Columbus that we go to every year, right? So 8,000 people in Columbus, and then we rented a car, and 4 of us drove up to Grand Rapids, Michigan.
Okay.
And we went to Saugatuck, Michigan at one point. That's a really interesting town if you're ever there.
All right.
So when we went up there, it was pretty funny. We're touring Spring Meadows. We're doing a shrub trial project with the Proven Winners flowering shrubs, and we walk in, and they're like, oh my gosh, Idaho. Oh, you guys have educated gardeners. I kind of look at them like, huh? what does that mean?
Yes. Yes.
And he's like, well, in Michigan, we can just put anything in the ground and it grows. I was like, oh, yeah, we can't do that.
Yes.
So it's very high pH. And so the water comes out to the ground at anywhere from between 8 and 9 here. And so that means hundreds to thousands of years watering into our soil, created a salt shelf. So what ends up happening is plants want about 6.5.
Oh, okay.
So in 5.5 to 6.5 is like a nice good range. So we have to kind of guide you through that process, set you up for success, tell you what works here, what doesn't work here,
yeah.
and that we have winners.
Yeah. All right. Well, I
know
think-
we've probably ran out of time.
Out of time here.
My
I realized it's 5:52. I gotta go pick up my dog. All right. Well, I'll be for sure to show up at the event itself.
Okay.
And again, this is, I feel like we could probably keep talking more about plants, but I gotta go. I'm sorry.
Don't worry about it.
But this has been a great podcast. I feel like I've learned a lot from you.
But I've left you better than when I came.
Yes. Sorry, I had to kind of cut it short because I just realized, oh my gosh, I gotta go get my dog. All right.
Puppies are very important.
Yes. All right. Well, thanks again for coming on.
Having me.
And stay tuned for the next podcast. Perfect. All right. I just realized. Oh,
No, you're fine.